The tale opens with a cloaked man concealed atop a castle rooftop, patiently waiting for every light to go out so he can infiltrate the area and assassinate his intended target. However, just as he is about to leap down, he senses a presence behind him. Turning around, he spots a black-haired young boy standing on one of the towers in the distance, silently staring in his direction. A sudden wave of fear rushes through the hooded man as he assumes that the boy must be another hired killer like himself. Upon closer inspection, though, he realizes that the boy is actually the infamous silent assassin, a legendary figure known for his overwhelmingly powerful skills. Instantly, the hooded man understands that escaping is impossible and that the only option left is to fight. Acting quickly, he repositions himself to gain a better angle and hurls several sharpened metal spikes toward the silent assassin. Unfortunately for him, the assassin moves far too fast, effortlessly evading the attack before charging straight at the hooded man. The attacker draws his dagger and attempts to finish the fight with a single decisive thrust, but the black-haired boy blocks and redirects the strike with his own blade in the blink of an eye. They clash repeatedly across the rooftop until the young assassin skillfully disarms his opponent. Refusing to give up, the hitman launches another barrage of metal spikes, all of which are dodged with ease. This maneuver creates what seems like an opening, allowing the hooded man to strike again. Sadly for him, the black-haired assassin anticipated this move, slipping past the attack and reappearing behind him. Panic sets in as the hooded hitman finally understands the vast difference in strength between them and desperately throws every attack he has at the younger assassin. The boy remains composed, calmly deflecting and blocking each slash and strike, even neutralizing the hitman's concealed blade hidden in his shoe. With no tricks left to rely on, the hitman is completely cornered. The assassin casually stabs him in the arm and then breaks his legs, leaving him helpless on the ground. The defeated hitman cannot comprehend how effortlessly the boy overwhelmed him, yet he accepts his fate as a sword suddenly falls from the sky, ending his suffering instantly. With his rival eliminated, the assassin proceeds to his target's chamber, where the man lies asleep, completely unaware of the danger surrounding him. Stealing his determination once again, the assassin raises his dagger and plunges it into the target, successfully completing his mission. Not long before this moment, this fearsome assassin was an ordinary, lonely teenager named Akira from Japan. He attended high school and preferred spending his time alone, quietly reading manga on his phone. Most of his classmates paid little to no attention to him. One day, however, reality itself suddenly tears apart, and Akira, along with all of his classmates, is transported to an entirely different world while they are in the middle of a court. Confused and terrified, they wonder whether what is happening is a dream or some elaborate prank. At that moment, an elderly mage steps through a door and announces that the royal majesty wishes to speak with them. None of the students have any idea what is going on. While some of them assume it must be a themed costume event, their doubts vanish when the king enters alongside the princess and welcomes them to this new world, explaining that they were summoned through a special magical ritual. Without wasting time, the king explains that he rules the largest human kingdom, which is currently facing a severe threat from demon forces. He declares that only a hero summoned from another world possesses the power necessary to defeat the demon lord once and for all, and that failure would result in total destruction and death for everyone. The mage then steps forward, stating that they must identify who the hero is, and instructs the students to approach the magic crystal one at a time and place their hands upon it. One enthusiastic boy eagerly goes first, placing his hands on the crystal, only for his status to be revealed as merely an animal trainer. Disappointed, he is reassured by the mage that his stats still far exceed those of any normal human. One after another, the students discover their classes, with some becoming mages, others knights, and a few healers. Akira notices something strange, however, as everyone else has starting stats of 180, while his own assassin stats are an astonishing 1,800, 10 times higher. Eventually, another boy named S steps up to the crystal and is revealed to be the hero, boasting starting stats of 1,000. The old mage congratulates him, explaining that normal starting stats are capped at 500, but heroes are granted double that amount. This revelation makes it clear that Akira's stats are abnormal, as they are nearly twice as high as even the heroes. The class erupts in cheers for Sato, the most popular student among them. One of Akira's classmates then pressures him to reveal his own stats as well. Akira carefully considers their situation, realizing that they know nothing about this unfamiliar world or how it truly operates. Revealing such an extreme stat number seems foolish, so he decides to keep it hidden until he learns more. Once all statuses are determined and the hero is confirmed, the mage announces that everyone will receive equipment suited to their classes and sends them to their rooms for the night. On his way back, Akira notices a hidden camera, signaling that they are being monitored, which strikes him as suspicious. To avoid detection, he activates his concealed presence ability and slips past unnoticed. Inside his room, he changes into appropriate clothing and steps onto the balcony, taking in the reality that he truly exists in another world. He resolves to begin gathering information immediately. With only a few effortless jumps, he scales the castle wall and reaches the rooftop. Reflecting on his overwhelming abilities, he spots an open window and sneaks into the king's personal work chamber. Inside, he overhears the king asking the princess whether everything is proceeding according to plan. She responds that the summoned students appear completely unaware of the situation and lack significant magical power. The king instructs her to continue observing them before returning to his work. Standing beside the king while completely invisible due to his concealment skill, Akira briefly considers how easily he could kill him, but ultimately decides not to act. The following morning, Akira sits at the breakfast table with his classmates, who appear carefree and unconcerned. Sato, the well-liked hero figure, stands up and delivers an awkward speech about how much stronger they are compared to their former world. He insists that they should dedicate themselves to helping the people of this world and fighting the demon lords as ordered by the king. The entire class eagerly agrees with this foolish plan, while Akira quietly debates whether to share what he has learned, realizing that everyone mistakenly believes the king and princess are allies. After breakfast, the students gather at the training grounds, where the Lord Commander of the Royal Army, Saren, introduces himself and explains that he will personally oversee their training. He states that after 1 month, they will be ready to enter a dungeon and test their abilities. Sato immediately encourages everyone to give their best effort, while Akira remains hidden, silently observing the spectacle from a distance. Choosing to pursue information on his own, Akira is surprised when Saren follows him, leaving the class in the care of his lieutenant, Gil. Akira wonders whether his concealment ability has a time limit or has stopped working altogether. Saren simply smiles and reassures him, stating that there is no need to worry, as his abilities are functioning just fine. That he explains that he himself possesses a form of mystical vision that allows him to perceive variations in temperature, effectively making him a living thermal sensor. Hearing this, Akira becomes tense and places his hand on his weapon, asking whether this situation is going to turn into trouble. Saren quickly reassures him, stating that he has no intention of exposing Akira to either the king or the princess. Still wary, Akira questions where Saren's true allegiance lies. Saren answers that the matter is far more complex than it appears and cannot be explained in simple terms. Sensing that Saren is being honest, Akira eases his guard slightly and explains that he wishes to visit the library in order to gather as much information as possible. When Saren asks about the level of Akira's concealment skill, Akira admits that it has already reached its maximum level, which is highly unusual, while all of his other abilities remain at level 1, and he has no idea how to improve them. Saren smiles and tells him that he can assist with that, adding that the library will not provide Akira with what he truly needs anyway. Akira debates how much trust to place in him, yet he cannot deny that the prospect of becoming stronger is appealing. Keeping his emotions in check, Akira asks Saren directly how he can return to his original world. Saren responds that even he does not know the answer, but he does know that Akira must grow as powerful as possible, since survival is the only path that might eventually lead him home. Akira states that he does not like receiving help without giving something in return. In response, Saren says that Akira can repay him by telling him more about his world. This proposal seems acceptable, and Akira shakes Saren's hand, marking him as the first person in this world he chooses to trust. Before long, Akira begins learning about the other races that inhabit this world, such as the beast folk and the elves, each living on their own separate continents. At the same time, he continues training both his body and mind, believing that consistent training is the only way to level up his skills and improve himself, while his classmates undergo their own training under Gil's supervision. One evening, Akira meets with Saren after discovering a book that he is convinced was written by the Lord Commander himself. Saren takes the book and smiles, confirming that it is indeed a plan to overthrow the king, cleverly disguised as a cookbook. He explains that the king is a deeply broken man beyond saving, who intends to do something utterly insane to reshape how the world functions, and Saren cannot allow that to happen. However, he is also the commander of the Royal Knights, bound by a sacred duty to protect the king. Akira understands Saren's dilemma and reveals that on the very night they were summoned, he had the chance to assassinate the king, but he could not bring himself to strike. Saren responds kindly, telling Akira that he made the correct choice, as being an assassin does not mean he must commit murder indiscriminately. Eventually, a full month passes, and the summoned heroes are finally prepared to enter the dungeon. They are welcomed by nearly the entire city, greeted with loud applause and cheers. From a distance, however, Akira notices a hooded girl glaring at them intensely. Using his abilities, he appears behind her without warning, catching her completely off guard. He asks why she is staring at them with such hatred, and the blue-haired girl answers that the people of the city are celebrating him and his companions as heroes, yet she knows about the sacrifice that was made to summon them. Akira admits that he knows nothing about any sacrifice, but in an almost mechanical manner, she tells him to discover the truth on his own before walking away. Soon after, they enter the dungeon, where monsters emerge from every direction and nearly every stone conceals a hidden trap, releasing even more enemies. The students grow visibly exhausted and weakened. Akira fights off as many monsters as he can before asking Saren whether they should retreat. Saren replies that they have done enough for the day and uses his divine skill to clear a path ahead. Gil orders everyone to run toward the exit, but they soon realize they are still underground, blocked by another wave of monsters. Suddenly, Sadto, in a moment of desperation, remembers the smoke bomb given to them by the princess, claiming it will repel the monsters. He throws it forward, but to everyone's horror, something massive emerges from the smoke. Gil arrives and is shocked to see a minotaur on an upper floor, as such a creature should only exist much deeper in the dungeon. Akira immediately springs into action, dodging the creature's attack, leaping onto its body, and stabbing it in the head. To his shock, his dagger shatters into fragments, forcing him to retreat. Sato remains on the ground, too weak to even lift his sword, but Akira tells him to stay back, reminding him that he is meant to be the hero who defeats the demon lord. Commander Saren arrives and instantly realizes how dire the situation is when Akira suggests that Saren use his special ability and leave the rest to him. Saren warns that it could be extremely dangerous, but after seeing the determination in Akira's eyes, he decides to cast the spell. A massive bolt of lightning strikes the minotaur, and Akira positions himself behind the monster, prepared to finish the fight. Activating his shadow magic, Akira launches razor-sharp spikes formed from pure darkness, dragging the creature into a dark abyss beneath its feet. The minotaur is consumed by the void, and the shadow spikes tear its head apart just before it completely disappears. Everyone stands in stunned silence, unable to believe that Akira defeated such a powerful monster. Suddenly, however, his powers spiral out of control, causing panic as he struggles to pull the shadow spikes back. Fortunately, Saren steps in and helps him calm down, and with Saren's guidance, Akira manages to regain control. Akira recalls that Asahi had reunited with him as soon as possible because he was the only one who knew the truth about what happened when they were cursed. He remembers meeting Asahi back in the real world, when Asahi found him working a part-time job at a railway crossing. Akira had asked him to keep it a secret, as he did not want his classmates or his younger sister to find out, and Asahi had agreed without hesitation. As they spoke about their sisters, they discovered that the girls were best friends, which gave them a reason to maintain a good relationship with each other. Back in the dungeon, Akira awakens from a dream about the incident and immediately wonders whether Asahi is safe. He notices that his body feels far better than expected and checks his status, discovering that his stats have increased and his HP has fully recovered. Even more surprising, his shadow magic skill has leveled up despite being used only once, leaving him unable to understand how such growth is possible. With no time to dwell on it, he decides to continue deeper into the dungeon. Eventually, he reaches the 75th floor, where a slime monster suddenly attacks him. Akira is shocked to encounter a slime on such lower floors and swiftly slashes it apart, only for a beautiful elf to emerge from the remains. Confused, Akira decides to activate a skill he has never used before called World Eye. The instant the skill activates, he is bombarded with horrifying visions that nearly make him vomit, forcing him to cancel the skill before it overwhelms his mind. At that moment, the elf girl named Amelia wakes up, and Akira asks her if she is alright. She answers that she is fine, yet Akira does not fully believe her, since he previously checked her status and saw that her HP had dropped to only 2%. He is also aware that Amelia possesses the World Eye skill as well and that she has already used it on him. She calls him by name and asks what kind of place this is, and he explains that it is a dungeon where he is attempting to level up. He then begins scolding her, saying that spying on other people's status is bad manners, but before he can finish, she suddenly collapses into his arms. Akira realizes that she has a fever and carries her up to the 69th floor so she can recover. When Amelia wakes up, she is startled, but Akira tells her to drink water to stay hydrated. After that, he gives her some porridge to eat, and she asks why he brought her all the way from the 75th floor to the 69th floor. Akira explains that this was the closest floor with a water source and then tells her to rest. She thanks him for saving her and reveals that she is a princess, though Akira does not seem particularly interested in that fact. Shortly after, Amelia fully recovers and begins traveling together with Akira as they reach the 80th floor of the dungeon. She supports him in combat using her gravity magic, but Akira is clearly uncomfortable with her following him into dangerous situations. Amelia tells him that they are heading in the same direction anyway and confidently insists that she is strong enough to protect herself. With no real choice left, Akira allows her to accompany him, and before long, they enter the boss chamber, where a terrifying dragon awaits, ready to kill any intruders. The dragon immediately exhales blue flames at them, but both of them manage to dodge the attack. Akira conceals his presence while Amelia uses her gravity magic to pin the dragon down, creating an opening for him to strike. However, despite Akira's invisibility, the dragon detects him and knocks him away. Amelia shouts that the dragon is sensing him through his mana and tells him to blend his mana with the surrounding flow. Since Akira has not learned how to do that yet, he decides to fight using the methods he knows best. He activates his shadow magic and launches a single dark spike at the dragon, grazing its face and forcing it to alter its movement. Taking advantage of the opening, he drives his sword into the dragon's eye, bringing it crashing down. Amelia is deeply impressed by his reckless and aggressive fighting style. Just as she is about to ask him more about his abilities, the dragon suddenly transforms into a massive blue cat, leaving both Akira and Amelia confused about how such a transformation is possible. Amelia activates her World Eye skill and discovers that the creature is actually a shapeshifter, explaining how it was able to become a dragon. This realization makes sense to her, since a true dragon would have been far more resilient than the cat. Akira is impressed by how effortlessly Amelia uses her World Eye and asks why she can do so with ease. She then questions why he is not using the skill himself. Akira recalls how his mind nearly shattered the last time he tried activating it and believes that his level is too low to handle the skill properly. Amelia, however, thinks that Akira is subconsciously rejecting the ability, which is why he struggles with it. At that moment, the black cat regains consciousness and begins speaking. He expresses disappointment that he was defeated by a human and an elf, even though he only turned into a dragon for amusement. Akira is stunned to hear a monster speaking and reacts strongly, which offends the cat. The cat tells him not to group him together with mindless low-level monsters driven purely by instinct, stating that he is a being of superior intelligence created directly by the Demon Lord. Akira responds that it makes no difference, since after the final blow, the cat can no longer fight back. The black cat says he does not fear death but has a message to deliver before he dies. Standing up, he releases a threatening aura and tells Akira that the Demon Lord awaits him in his castle, located deep within the volcanic demon continent. This revelation makes Akira suspicious, and he asks how the Demon Lord knows about him and why he wants him to come to the castle. The black cat replies that the Demon Lord exists far beyond his comprehension and refuses to explain further. He then lies down and tells Akira to kill him, but Akira refuses. The cat mocks him, saying there is no point in pretending to be noble, since humans see all demons and monsters as enemies, making it natural for Akira to kill him. Akira disagrees, stating that his true enemy is the king and that he does not believe demons are necessarily their foes. Amelia then reminds him that the boss room door will not open unless the boss is defeated or they are killed. The black cat agrees with her and asks Akira whether he plans to starve to death inside the room. He asks Akira why he refuses to kill him, and Akira gives a simple yet surprising answer. He explains that he is a cat person and, unlike other monsters, the black cat can speak. He believes there must be some loophole that allows them to leave the boss room without killing him. Amelia suddenly remembers that there is indeed another method. She explains that if Akira forms a pact with the black cat and accepts him as a familiar, the cat will no longer be classified as a boss monster, allowing the door to open. The black cat laughs at the suggestion, saying that only a highly experienced mage with exceptional mana control could perform such a ritual, and Akira lacks the necessary qualifications. Amelia disagrees and states that Akira has already surpassed the minimum requirement to carry out the ritual. She reminds the cat that Akira previously separated his mana from his body to confuse him, a feat accomplished only by the first hero in history. Amelia firmly believes that Akira can perform the ritual, though she admits that she cannot guarantee success. Akira asks what will happen if he fails, and the black cat answers that one of them will die, and in the worst-case scenario, both of them could lose their lives. Akira accepts the risk without hesitation, which the black cat cannot understand. The cat tells him to proceed, saying that he does not care whether he lives or dies. Akira becomes irritated by the cat's complete indifference toward life and death. The black cat responds that continuing to live would not bring him any happiness, and Akira decides that he will try to talk some sense into him later. He asks Amelia how the ritual is performed, and she explains that the very first step is to give the cat a new name. Akira decides to call him Night, inspired by his beautiful fur that reminds him of the night sky. The cat shows no reaction to the name, and Akira proceeds to the next step, which involves channeling his mana into the cat's paw. Amelia cautions him that once he begins pouring his mana, there will be no turning back, and if he fails to control the cat, he could lose his life. Akira remains confident that he will succeed. As he starts transferring his mana into the cat's paw, a powerful surge overwhelms him. He realizes that this immense force is what lies within the cat. Suddenly, he finds himself falling toward a city engulfed in flames. Akira is horrified by the gruesome scene before him. He then notices Night rampaging through the burning city, slaughtering anyone who attempts to flee. Akira tries to stop Night, but the cat attacks him with dark mana, inflicting severe damage. As Akira struggles back to his feet, Night tells him to stop hesitating and kill him, insisting that it is the only way Akira can escape this place alive. Still, Akira cannot bring himself to attack the cat. In response, Night launches another assault, slashing him with his powerful claws. The injuries Akira suffers in the dream world begin to affect his physical body in the real world as well, forcing him to finally fight back. He throws his dagger at Night, who effortlessly deflects it and then starts gathering his dark power to end the battle quickly. Akira rushes toward him, but instead of striking, he allows himself to be pierced by Night's claws. The black cat is stunned by this action and demands to know what Akira is trying to do. Akira answers that he does not want to kill him and believes that Night does not truly wish to kill anyone either. Night responds that he is still a monster, and no matter how intelligent he may be, his instincts constantly urge him to kill those in his path. Akira understands that Night is exhausted from endless killing, so he tells him that he no longer has to fight those instincts alone. Grasping Night's claws, Akira promises to stay by his side and ensure that he never has to go through something like this again. Gradually, the dream world begins to fade away. As Night starts to trust him, he transforms into a normal-sized cat and finds comfort resting in Akira's arms. The sun rises within the dream world, symbolizing the peace Night feels while being held by Akira. With that, Akira returns to reality, and once he realizes the pact ritual has succeeded, he touches Night to confirm it. A golden mark appears on the back of Akira's hand, and the red mark on Night's forehead also turns gold. Amelia explains that these marks signify a successful pact and that Akira's soul is now linked with the cat. Night wakes up as well and comments that he is now curious to see how far Akira will go. He accepts Akira as his master and pledges his life to serving him. Amelia introduces herself to Night afterward, and he responds that as his master's companion, she has earned his respect too. At that moment, a magic circle forms on the floor, indicating that the boss has been defeated, though Akira appears deep in thought. He says that he would like to proceed to the next floor immediately, but Night is still injured. Night explains that the door will remain open until they choose to pass through it, so there is no need to rush. He decides to rest and recover for a while, and Amelia suggests using this time to get to know one another better. Night immediately agrees, and Akira is quietly surprised by how drastically Night's personality has changed. Meanwhile, Sato and his group arrive in a nation founded by a hero who, like them, was summoned from Earth. They are stunned to discover that the country looks exactly like historical Japan. Everything feels familiar, allowing them to relax as they begin discussing their future plans. Sato states that their most pressing concern is money, since they are only 1 month away from becoming broke and homeless. One member suggests becoming adventurers, arguing that it is the most suitable profession for them, and Sato agrees. He then shifts the discussion to gathering information, proposing that they seek someone knowledgeable about this world and search for books containing useful knowledge. Another boy expresses hope that there might be a book explaining how to return to Earth. Sato, however, believes that defeating the demon lord is their best chance of going home. He thinks that only the king and the princess know how to send them back, and even if they are twisted and evil, the group will need to win their favor by defeating the demon lord. He declares that once they secure enough money and information, they will head straight for the demon continent. Asahi disagrees with this plan, arguing that they should first reunite with Akira before traveling to the demon continent. His intuition tells him that Akira is growing stronger far faster than anyone else and that they will need him on their side. Some members support Asahi's opinion, while others still believe Akira is responsible for Commander Saren's death. A small argument breaks out, but the girls intervene to calm things down. They ask Sato for his opinion, since he is the leader and has the final say. Sato sides with Asahi, acknowledging that Akira is likely already stronger than the rest of them, but he doubts they could work together effectively. He explains that Akira dislikes social involvement and does not even remember him, despite having been classmates since kindergarten. Everyone is shocked by this revelation, and even Asahi agrees that Akira is not exactly suited for teamwork. Sato then says that according to legend, only the holy sword wielded by the hero can defeat the demon lord, meaning he must grow strong enough to fulfill that role. He believes that even if they manage to find Akira would refuse to cooperate if they remain too weak. Because of this, Sato decides that they will wait for Akira in this country while continuing to train and grow stronger. At the same time, Amelia shares her past with Akira and Knight. She explains that her own sister expelled her from their homeland and that her men were determined to kill her. They cornered her near a cliff, and in desperation, she used her gravity magic to fall into the river below, which carried her away to safety. However, she was injured and exhausted, and a black slime exploited her weakened state and engulfed her completely. The next moment she realized what had happened, she found herself inside the dungeon, where Akira had just saved her. Akira feels relieved after hearing her account, but Knight notices several inconsistencies. He points out that slimes do not consume humans, and even if one had swallowed Amelia, she should have been fully digested by the time Akira rescued her. Amelia admits that she doesn't understand it either, but she remains thankful to the slime that delivered her to Akira. Akira then advises her to return and attempt to resolve things with her sister. However, Amelia has already lost hope. She believes she cannot face her sister, but Akira reassures her, saying that things will somehow work out because they are family. He mentions that he also has a sister, and even though she is constantly cheeky, he still cares deeply for her. Amelia and Knight then ask whether he wants to return to his own world to reunite with his family, and Akira confirms that he does. But before doing so, there is something else he must take care of. He begins speaking about Saren, the man who taught him how to survive in this world, and he becomes enraged when thinking about those who murdered him. He vows to kill the king and the princess for orchestrating Saren's assassination. His intense killing intent causes both Amelia and Knight to tremble in fear. Amelia screams his name, snapping him out of his murderous rage. Once he regains his composure, both Amelia and Knight tell him that they recognize Saren's name, as he was a renowned knight commander. Akira realizes that the atmosphere has grown too tense. To lighten the mood, he suddenly pulls out his glove, acting on his cat-like instincts. Knight tries to grab it. Akira is pleased to see that the trick he used on the stray cats around his house works on a monster cat as well. Amelia also wants to try it. Soon afterward, Akira and Amelia begin cuddling Knight, enjoying the soft and fluffy feel of his fur. Knight warns Akira to be more serious, reminding him that their souls are linked, and if one of them dies, the other will die too. Akira already knows this, but he is simply happy that he obtained a cat familiar because he genuinely loves cats. Amelia responds that she is jealous of him, as she also loves cats. After they finish playing around, they decide to exit the dungeon. Akira asks Knight where the teleportation magic circle will take them, but the cat has no idea. He explains that only a small number of demons still know how to create magic circles, and Akira decides that once he reaches the demon continent, he will find them and force them to work for him. Suddenly, Amelia recalls a story about pale blue magic circles that transport people to the place they most desire. She adds that if multiple people enter at once, it only responds to the wish of one individual. Akira says this could cause trouble for them, but Amelia assures him that she is willing to go anywhere as long as she is with him. Akira doesn't dwell on her words as he steps into the magic circle. He briefly wonders whether it could return him to his family, but quickly pushes that thought aside, as his revenge takes priority. With that, the magic circle activates, and the group is teleported to a forest where they can see a massive tree towering in the distance. Amelia is stunned upon seeing the tree, which Knight identifies as the World Tree. He explains that they are in the forest of the elves. Although Amelia finds it hard to believe they ended up here, Akira thinks it is a good place to be. Suddenly, an elf hiding in the tree fires an arrow toward Amelia. Fortunately, Akira notices it just in time and pulls her out of the arrow's trajectory. He then rushes toward the archer, deflects the incoming arrow with his dagger, and quickly positions himself behind him. He slams the archer to the ground, and Amelia recognizes him as Liam. Liam says he never expected to encounter the traitor while investigating the light at this location and warns Amelia to flee if she values her life. Akira knocks him unconscious because he has no interest in listening to his rambling. However, he realizes that he acted too late, as the elves have already surrounded them. Amelia's sister, Kilika, is present and personally leading them. She tells Amelia that she is going to die now that she has willingly returned to the country. Amelia recalls the past, when everything was perfect. She was the crown princess of the Elven Kingdom, and together with her fiancé Liam, she watched over her younger sister Kilika, who was her pride and joy. However, that perfect life quickly fell apart when Liam suddenly told her that he wanted to call off their engagement. Amelia was heartbroken, but she told him to discuss it with her father, as he was the one who arranged their marriage. At that moment, Kilika arrived and told Amelia that Liam no longer wanted to marry her because she was the child of Blight. That was only the beginning of Amelia's suffering, and shortly after that incident, Kilika led the soldiers to hunt her down. Everyone branded Amelia a criminal and tried to capture her, but she somehow survived and eventually met Akira. Now, standing before her younger sister, she feels deeply uneasy. She begs Kilika not to attack her and promises to leave the country immediately. However, Kilika has no intention of letting her escape this time. She continues hurling insults at the trembling Amelia until Akira steps forward and tells her to shut her stupid mouth. Kilika demands to know who he is and why he is helping a criminal. Akira replies that he is simply her friendly neighborhood assassin who became friends with her sister a few days ago. He asks Kilika what Amelia actually did to deserve being treated as a criminal, and she removes the covering from her arm, revealing the damage caused by poison. Akira is shocked by the sight, and Kilika explains that Amelia gave her poison disguised as a healing potion, and that is her crime. Everyone begins cursing Amelia for being a cruel, while she mutters that she truly gave her a healing potion. Kilika asks if Amelia is accusing her of injuring herself just to frame her, and Amelia falls silent. Kilika then approaches Akira, thanking him for bringing a wanted criminal back to their homeland. As soon as she gets close enough, she uses her special ability to mesmerize him. Amelia is too late to warn Akira, as Kilika's spell has already taken effect. Confident that Akira has now fallen under her control, Kilika believes Amelia is left completely helpless. Suddenly, Amelia snaps at Kilika, demanding that she undo her skill on Akira and apologize to him, stating that only he has the right to decide what he wants to do. Kilika is shocked, as she has never seen Amelia stand up for herself before. Then, Akira suddenly tells both girls to calm down. He explains that the mesmerization skill had no effect on him. Amelia is overjoyed, while Kilika is left in disbelief. Knight explains that mind control spells do not work on individuals who are at a significantly higher level than the caster, and this is the case between Kilika and Akira. The elven princess refuses to accept that there could be anyone stronger than her. Akira says that he will acknowledge that he is weaker than her once she admits that she poisoned herself in order to frame Amelia. Kilika becomes furious at this statement and orders the soldiers to kill Akira, who prepares to use his shadow magic to wipe them all out. Fortunately, the king arrives at that exact moment and commands every soldier to lower their weapons. Kilika is stunned to see him, as he was supposed to be away on a lengthy business trip. The elven king demands to know what is going on, and one of the soldiers claims that Amelia poisoned Kilika. However, the king silences him immediately and instructs his daughter to answer instead. Kilika remains quiet while the soldiers under her influence insist that she did nothing wrong. The king instantly realizes that Kilika has placed them under a mesmerizing spell and orders her to release it at once. She refuses to respond, so the king tells her that her father will deal with her punishment later for behaving like a naughty child. He then approaches Akira and apologizes for Kilika's behavior. After that, he tells Akira to leave immediately, stating that members of other races are forbidden from staying in the Elven Kingdom. Amelia tells the king that Akira saved her from danger and helped her return home, but the king shows no concern for that. Amelia becomes angry and declares that she will leave with Akira if that is the case, as she does not want to remain in such a narrow-minded nation. The king becomes enraged by her words and tells Amelia to stop acting as if she is free to do whatever she wants. He reminds her that she is the future ruler of the kingdom and must stay to protect it. Amelia feels intimidated, but Akira tells her father that no one has the right to decide her life for her, and he is willing to fight anyone who tries to take away her freedom. At that moment, Liam regains consciousness, and upon learning that Akira knocked out one of their strongest warriors, he decides to test him. He challenges Akira to a duel with Amelia's rights at stake and appoints Kilika as his representative. Akira accepts the challenge and follows the king to the World Tree, where the duel is set to take place. Amelia apologizes for involving him in such trouble, but Akira responds that he chose this path himself. He then asks her about the whole child of blight issue, and Amelia explains that when one twin does not resemble their parents, they are labeled as a child of blight, a being believed to bring great misfortune to the country. Akira is surprised to learn that Amelia and Kilika are twins. Knight, however, is more intrigued by the child of blight legend, which was proven to be nothing more than a myth many years ago. Amelia agrees, but she explains that people still use that label against her because she looks nothing like her parents. Soon, they arrive at the World Tree, and Akira decides not to hide his presence because he wants to win fairly. Amelia warns him to be cautious, as Kilika is the most skilled swordsman among the elves. Akira comments that she still seems to respect her clever sister despite everything she has done, and Amelia replies that she has witnessed the effort Kilika put into her training. When the duel begins, Akira does not even draw his sword. When Kilika tells him to unsheath it, he replies that he does not want to accidentally kill her. Kilika believes she will win easily and regain her father's trust, but Akira pays her no attention at all. Instead, he thanks Amelia for getting angry on his behalf earlier, causing her to blush. With that, the king signals the start of the duel, and Kilika charges at Akira immediately. She attacks him with precise sword strikes, but he is faster and effortlessly avoids every blow. He acknowledges that she is quite powerful and quick for an elf, yet she is still no match for his abilities. He slips past her and shoves her away, but Kilika has a hidden trump card. She enchants her sword with wind magic and unleashes a powerful gust toward Akira, forcing him backward. He narrowly avoids it, but Kilika continues to press him. Eventually, he finds an opening and kicks her off her feet. By the time she stands up, he is already behind her. Akira urges her to surrender and asks her to reconcile with Amelia, reminding her that Amelia still cares about her. Kilika refuses, shouting that she will never forgive the sister who took everything from her. She immediately unleashes another strong attack, pushing Akira back again, but he redirects the wind spell to the side, striking the elven soldiers instead. Akira orders Night to protect Amelia from the reckless attacks, and Night transforms into his larger form to shield her from the wind. Meanwhile, Kilika screams that she has nothing left because her sister took it all from her. She recalls their childhood, when they were once very close. However, when it was discovered that Amelia was a spirit medium capable of bending the world to her will if her power awakened, everything changed. People began treating Amelia differently and stopped paying attention to Kilika, which caused her to snap. Now, she wants to reclaim everything from Amelia, who is deeply worried about her. At that moment, Liam arrives carrying a wrapped object and asks Amelia to use it to save Kilika. The item turns out to be a branch from the holy tree, and with its power, Amelia releases everyone from Kilika's brainwashing. Realizing that she no longer controls anyone, Kilika loses her sanity and unleashes her full power against Akira. Akira realizes that if he dodges, Amelia will be struck instead. He uses shadow magic to counter Kilika's wind attack, but then realizes that his power is far greater and that his attack would completely consume Kilika if it continued. In a split-second decision, he draws the shadow magic toward himself instead. As the shadows envelop him, Akira fears he will be injured, but instead his body becomes covered in a dark aura. He does not understand what is happening, but he charges forward anyway, colliding with Kilika and knocking her out of the fight. Kilika is devastated, believing she has now lost everything, but Akira tells her to stop crying constantly and says that she is blind to the people who genuinely care about her. Just then, Amelia and Liam arrive, and Kilika remarks that she must have underestimated Liam if her mesmerizing spell wore off on him first. She notes that he went straight to Amelia as soon as he was free, but Amelia explains that he was never under Kilika's spell to begin with. Kilika refuses to accept this and asks how they plan to punish her for her crimes. However, her father says that if anyone deserves punishment, it is him. Kilika does not understand what he means, so her father dispels the forgetting spell he had placed on her. Kilika begins to recover her lost memories, starting from her childhood. She remembers training relentlessly to grow stronger and deciding to enter the dungeon to level up. However, her father only allowed her to go as far as the 3rd floor, and she doubted whether that would be enough. One day, a suspicious woman offered her help to gain strength quickly. She gave Kilika a magic item capable of summoning powerful monsters to help her level up faster, and the naive Kilika accepted it without much thought. When she used the item, strong orcs appeared before her, and despite her best efforts, she could not defeat them. She chose to flee instead. But when the orcs followed her out of the dungeon, she became worried that her people would be endangered. Determined, she turned back to face the orcs with all her strength. Just as she was about to lose, Liam rushed in with the soldiers to help her. Suddenly, a cunning goblin leapt from the bushes and pierced Liam's chest with its arm, while the shady woman laughed, declaring her plan a success. Kilika was utterly devastated, and the king was forced to use his magic to make her forget everything that had happened. Fortunately, Amelia managed to save everyone by creating a spell that revived Liam along with the other fallen soldiers. From that day onward, everyone deliberately kept their distance from Kilika so they would not accidentally reveal the truth to her. Kilika misunderstood this behavior and believed that people did not care about her because Amelia was a spirit medium. The king explains that he had wanted Kilika to defeat Akira in the duel and prove her value as a royal, which would have given her the confidence needed to face the shock of regaining her memories later. However, she failed to win the battle, forcing him to restore her memories in an entirely different way. Suddenly, Liam kneels in front of Kilika and admits that he never wanted her to hurt Amelia, so he pretended to be affected by her mesmerizing spell and assisted in Amelia's exile. Kilika is unable to believe what she is hearing. The king then reveals that a leaf from the world tree entered Liam's body when he was revived, making him nearly immune to all negative effects. Liam apologizes for not handling the situation in a way that would have prevented anyone from being harmed. At that moment, Kilika realizes that she was wrong all along. She had blamed Amelia for everything, even though she herself had caused trouble for everyone around her. She breaks down in tears and condemns herself, but Amelia stops her and tells her not to say such things, reminding her that she is amazing. The two sisters share an emotional reunion, after which the soldiers rush over to examine Kilika and treat her injuries. Kilika is stunned to discover that everyone genuinely cares about her even when they are no longer under her control. Later that evening, the king hosts a welcome banquet for Akira in celebration of his victory in the duel and agrees to allow Amelia to choose her own future. She decides that she will go wherever Akira chooses to go, and he reveals that his next destination will be the Beastmen continent, as Knight told him it is the ideal place to continue his journey. After the celebration ends, Amelia calls Akira to a quiet location and asks him to say her name. He does so, and hearing him call her name makes her happy. She promises that she will never leave his side, while Knight cringes at how childish the two of them are acting. At the same time, Akira's classmates are traveling aboard a ship. Sad apologizes to Asahi for not being able to wait for Akira any longer, but Asahi understands, knowing that they would not have been able to grow stronger if they had stayed. That is why they are also heading to the Beastmen continent to train, improve their skills, and acquire better equipment. Not long after, it becomes time for Akira and Amelia to depart from the Elven Kingdom, and everyone gathers to see them off. Amelia and Kilika have repaired their relationship, and Liam and Akira exchange words, telling each other to take good care of their girls. The king then informs Akira that several soldiers will accompany him until they reach the border, as there have been numerous kidnappings in that area recently. Amelia clings to Akira and insists that he is strong enough to protect her, but the king remains uneasy because he is deeply concerned about his daughter's safety. Kilika volunteers to protect Amelia in place of the king, and Liam also wishes to accompany them. The other soldiers offer to join as well, but Akira refuses all of them, not wanting to be burdened. Soon, Akira and Amelia ride in a carriage toward the border while the soldiers keep watch around them. Akira asks Knight why he remains so quiet in front of the Elven King, and Knight explains that most people dislike monsters, so he stayed silent to avoid causing trouble for Akira. Akira then asks whether acting too obediently might cause problems with the Demon King, and Knight confirms that it could. He explains that his senses are still connected to the Demon King, allowing him to see and hear everything. However, the Demon King does not control Knight's actions or loyalty, and Knight declares that he will never betray Akira. Akira asks what Knight will do if he is forced to fight the Demon Lord someday, but Knight chooses not to think about it yet. He says that the Demon Lord simply wanted to meet Akira, and Amelia suggests that he might actually want to befriend him. Knight agrees with her idea, stating that Akira was incredibly impressive the previous day, which likely caught the Demon Lord's attention. He adds that no one else can even use shadow magic, yet Akira has completely mastered it. Akira downplays their praise, saying it is not that impressive, when suddenly his danger detection skill activates. He orders the soldiers to stop the carriage and steps out, discovering that kidnappers are waiting with a hostage. They threaten to kill the girl if Akira's group makes any sudden movements and toss them a rope, ordering them to tie each other up. One of the bandits recognizes Amelia and begins fantasizing about how pleased their boss will be when they present the elf princess as an offering. While the bandits are distracted, Akira activates his concealment skill and knocks them out before they even realize what happened. When he reappears, the bandits are lying unconscious on the ground, and Akira tells the soldiers to restrain them. Meanwhile, Amelia frees the hostage, and Akira interrogates the bandits, asking about their leader, whom they referred to as Graham. One of the soldiers explains that Graham is a royal from Urak, the largest beastfolk nation. Akira instructs the soldiers to take the bandits back to the capital, stating that he can continue his journey alone from there. The soldiers say they were ordered to escort him to the port, but Akira manages to persuade them to return instead. Soon, they arrive at the harbor and board a ship. Akira tells his companions that once they reach the beastfolk continent, he plans to obtain better weapons and level up even more. Amelia is surprised that he still wants to grow stronger, and Akira replies that he will stop at nothing to avenge Commander Saren. Knight informs him that the port town on the beastfolk continent contains a dungeon where he can train further. However, reaching it will take several days, so they should relax and enjoy the voyage in the meantime. As the ship begins its journey, Amelia becomes excited and talks about recreating scenes from Titanic, saying she wants to strike the famous pose with him. Akira, being a Sigma male, completely ignores her and instead opens a book that the king gave him as a farewell gift. Amelia curses her father for giving Akira something that distracts him from her, but Akira pays no attention to her complaints. He spends the entire journey reading, and before long, they arrive at the Beast Folk continent. Their first destination is the port town, where Akira notices that only humans are doing manual labor. He does not dwell on it and continues onward, but soon 3 low-level thugs corner him. They tell him to abandon the elf girl and run away, and their behavior makes Akira realize that beast men discriminate against humans. He approaches them calmly, and the beast men underestimate him and rush forward to beat him up. Akira responds by using shadow magic to hurl blobs of darkness at their eyes, stealing their sight. He then proceeds into the city, where everyone appears frightened of Night. Amelia asks Knight if he knows the reason for this, and he explains that people on this continent have a very good reason to fear black cats. Shortly afterward, Akira and Amelia rent a hotel room and enjoy a satisfying meal. Akira decides to go to sleep, and Amelia comments that the beds are unusually large. She suggests that one bed would be enough for both of them, which catches Akira completely off guard because he did not expect her to be so forward. Knight decides to act as Amelia's wingman and announces that he is going out for a midnight walk, telling them to do whatever they want. Akira is left confused, while Amelia cheerfully heads to the shower. However, when she finishes bathing, Akira has already fallen asleep, and she chooses not to wake him. She gently kisses him on the cheek and lies down beside him. It turns out that Akira was only pretending to sleep because he did not want to do anything inappropriate. The next morning, Knight returns just as Akira wakes up. Amelia regains consciousness just a few seconds later, and Knight tells both of them to get dressed because a visitor will be arriving shortly. The visitor is a goth beastfolk blacksmith named Crow, whom Knight summoned to assist Akira. Crow responds coldly, saying that he could not ignore a summons from the Nightmare of Alderia, which makes Amelia curious about what that title means. Akira, however, already understands what Crow is referring to, so he does not explain it further. He introduces himself, and the blacksmith immediately asks to examine his weapon. Akira presents a sword that is chipped in many places, and Crow is instantly able to identify which dungeon it was used in just by analyzing the damage patterns. Akira is impressed and asks whether the sword can be repaired. The goth beastman replies that he will do it in exchange for the proper payment and the required raw materials. Akira agrees to these terms and then asks him to also prepare 20 throwing weapons. Crow realizes that Akira is an assassin, but he believes Akira is not mentally prepared to wield such weapons without damaging them. Amelia becomes angry after hearing this, but Akira tells her to calm down because Crow is correct. Knight supports Crow's opinion, explaining that although Crow is a blacksmith now, he was once a member of the hero's party. Both Akira and Amelia are shocked by this revelation, but Crow does not wish to linger on his past. He gives Akira a list of the necessary materials along with the cost of the repairs, then leaves. Knight tells Akira that despite Crow's arrogant demeanor, he is the most skilled blacksmith on the entire continent. Akira believes him but wonders how he can quickly gather the large sum of money required. Knight advises him to enter a dungeon and hunt monsters, which would also allow him to collect some of the needed materials. Meanwhile, Amelia has been acting restless and suddenly announces that she wants to speak with Crow about something. Akira asks Knight to accompany Amelia while he goes to gather information elsewhere. At the same time, Amelia follows Crow to his workshop, where he coldly asks her what she wants. Amelia explains that the previous hero's party failed to defeat the demon lord and that only the hero and the beast folk returned. Crow assumes she wants to ask about the elf who was also part of their party, but Amelia is not interested in that. Instead, she asks Crow to teach her how to fight, reasoning that he must have been strong enough to escape from the demon lord's castle. Crow immediately rejects her request, stating that he no longer takes disciples. Amelia is surprised and asks whether he had disciples in the past. Crow replies that he had many, but none of them could endure his training, and they either broke down or ran away. Amelia promises that she will not flee or collapse. She wants to stay by Akira's side, but since he is far stronger than her, she wants to train hard to reach his level. Despite this, Crow still refuses and turns to Knight, saying that he only agreed to repair his master's weapons and nothing beyond that. Knight agrees and tells him that since Amelia is not his master, he is free to refuse her. However, Knight is displeased that Crow keeps calling him the Nightmare of Adora. Crow responds that he deserves no other title, which only fuels Amelia's curiosity. She asks Knight what they are talking about, and he explains that 100 years ago, Adora was the most prosperous city on the Beastfolk continent. The Demon Lord ordered Knight to attack it in retaliation for the Beastfolk invading his territory. His original intention was merely to cause damage and intimidate those in power, but his monstrous instincts took over, driving him berserk and leading to the city's complete destruction. From that day on, he became known as the Nightmare of Adora, and black cats became a symbol of terror across the continent. Through his telepathic link, Akira hears the entire story and feels sympathy for Knight. Knight then tells Amelia that the incident left him so mentally shattered that he saw no reason to continue living. However, after meeting Akira, he overcame his shameful past and now wishes to live for the sake of his new master. Crow scoffs at this, but he tells Knight that he holds no grudge against him. He continues the story and explains to Amelia that shortly after the incident, he went to a memorial to honor the victims of Knight's rampage. To his surprise, Knight was there as well, and they recognized each other. At that time, Knight told Crow to strike him down if he wanted revenge, but the Beastman refused. He believed Knight was merely a tool of the Demon Lord and that taking revenge on him would be meaningless. He also did not seek revenge against the Demon Lord, because his true enemy was someone else. Crow explains that his sister lived in the city and survived the attack. She was helping rescue the injured when a royal named Graham arrived. Fearing that Knight might return, Graham was desperate to leave the city and was willing to blast through collapsed buildings to clear a path. Ignoring the people trapped inside, Crow's sister tried to stop him, but he kicked her aside and continued destroying everything in his way, killing everyone nearby. Crow was filled with rage and wanted revenge against Graham, but restrained himself because he believed his kind sister would not have wanted that. Amelia calls him a coward, accusing him of using his sister as an excuse to avoid conflict. Crow becomes furious, but Amelia admits that she used to be the same way until Akira gave her the confidence to face her problems directly. Unable to tolerate her moralizing any further, Crow tells her to leave. Meanwhile, Akira heads to the dungeon and discovers that entry is restricted based on adventurer rank, prompting him to consider concealing his presence to sneak inside. Suddenly, a monster outbreak occurs. Massive energy tendrils burst through the dungeon structure, and powerful monsters emerge from the openings. The tendrils scorch everything in their path, and Amelia, who is returning from Crow's workshop, uses her gravity magic to suppress them. She orders Knight to help evacuate the people, and he rushes to rescue as many as possible. As Amelia struggles to contain the energy, a hooded boy arrives riding a monster and remarks that her magic brings back pleasant memories. Amelia recognizes him as the scoundrel who manipulated Kilika into unleashing a group of orcs, causing the previous incident. The boy introduces himself as Orim and tells Amelia that the Demon Lord has ordered him not to kill her because of her unique magic. However, he is permitted to injure her as long as she survives. He plays an eerie flute and commands the energy tendrils to close in around her. Amelia realizes that monsters are waiting inside the tendrils and that she is completely trapped, with no way to evade Orim's attack. Elsewhere, Akira is occupied fighting monsters when Knight contacts him and informs him that Amelia has been kidnapped by a demon who dragged her into the dungeon. Akira immediately races toward the dungeon, but countless monsters stand in his way, and the blue energy barrier blocks his advance as well that he grabs a sword from the hand of a fallen man and starts hunting down the monsters. However, that approach proves too slow. At that moment, Knight arrives and apologizes for failing to protect Amelia. Akira tells him that it no longer matters and orders him to retreat because he plans to handle everything at once. Knight immediately takes to the sky, and Akira releases his shadow magic, swallowing all the monsters and the blue energy in a single surge. As he does so, he feels his rage overflowing and realizes that Amelia has become so important to him that it is causing these overwhelming emotions. He vows that he will rescue her no matter the cost. But after completely devouring everything with his shadow magic, he collapses unconscious from exhausting too much energy. Knight witnesses the entire scene from above, and the moment Akira falls, he rushes down to his side. While wondering how to help him, he suddenly hears the voice of the system that serves Akira. The voice explains that Akira has exceeded the amount of mana his body can endure, so healing shadow magic will now activate automatically to treat him. Shadows rapidly envelop Akira, and his body begins to glow as the shadow magic uses stored mana to repair the damage. Knight can only stare in shock and amazement, unable to comprehend what he has just seen. After a full day passes, Akira jolts awake and asks Knight where he is. Knight tells him that after he lost consciousness, he carried him to Crow's house, mentioning that the sun was setting at the time. Akira asks whether he had been unconscious for 5 hours, but Knight corrects him, saying he was out for 1 full day and 5 hours, which makes sense given how much mana he used at once. Knight explains that Akira was fortunate his shadow magic activated on its own to heal him, because otherwise he would have died. He then asks what exactly that shadow magic is, but Akira replies that he does not know. He says it is not important right now, because they have a far more urgent problem to deal with. Akira immediately heads downstairs, where Crow is waiting. He thanks Crow for letting him use the bed and asks him to add it to the bill. Crow asks where he is going, and Akira answers that he needs to rescue Amelia as quickly as possible. The goth blacksmith points out that more than a day has already passed and that Amelia may have been taken to the demon continent by now. Akira declares that he will storm the demon lord's castle if that is the case, but Crow tells him to calm down. Akira shouts that he is calm, just in a hurry, and Crow responds by asking how he can claim to be calm when he is about to leave without his weapons. Akira snaps back, saying he has no weapons because they are still being repaired, but Crow tells him to look at the table. He has reforged Akira's sword into 2 short daggers, explaining that they are better suited for an assassin. Crow also covered the cost and raw materials for the repairs because it was an emergency, though he asks Akira to repay him as soon as possible. Akira examines the daggers and thanks Crow, who then gives him another item. He tosses Akira a ring, saying that it was forged by either the second or the third hero. The ring has words engraved on it that say, "I will lead you everywhere." Crow is surprised that Akira can read the inscription, and Akira explains that it is written in the language of his own world. When Akira asks what the ring does, Crow tells him it helps the wearer locate what they are seeking. Hearing this, Akira immediately puts the ring on and activates it. A beam of light shoots out, pointing directly toward the dungeon, and Crow remarks that Akira is fortunate the demons have not yet taken Amelia to the demon realm. Akira quickly equips his gear and heads for the dungeon, riding on Knight's back. Knight warns him not to act recklessly like he did the previous day. Akira agrees, admitting that risking his life so impulsively was wrong because it could have resulted in Knight dying as well. Knight tells him he is not concerned about himself and only wants Akira to remain safe. Meanwhile, Amelia is inside the dungeon, exhausted and wounded. The demon Orim speaks to her cheerfully, saying that things are progressing very well. He explains that demons possess a spell to control monsters, but he was curious about how it would affect humans and other races. He sends a flying centipede toward Amelia, explaining that thanks to her, he discovered that his special spell cannot fully control elves, though it can paralyze them. Amelia gathers her remaining strength to ask why he is keeping her in the dungeon. Orim replies that only second-grade demons or higher can use teleportation magic, and unfortunately, he is only a third-grade demon who lacks that ability. Because of this, he is waiting for his superior to arrive and use teleportation magic to take them to the demon continent. He admits he does not know when his boss will come, but he is in no rush since he is enjoying his conversation with Amelia. He invites her to ask anything she wants, promising to answer honestly. He confidently claims that even if Akira arrives before his boss and Amelia tells him everything, Akira will still be unable to defeat him. However, he reassures her that she will not be seriously harmed, as he needs to present her to the demon lord in perfect condition. At the same time, Akira continues searching for Amelia, with the ring constantly pointing him toward the dungeon. As he prepares to hurry, a hooded wizard approaches him and asks him to grant her request. Akira recognizes her as the stalker who had been following them before. When the furry wizard asks to accompany him in rescuing Amelia, Akira grabs her by the collar and demands that she explain how she knows about Amelia. He warns her that if he deems her dangerous, he will kill her immediately. The girl explains that she has a skill called Scent Tracker, which she used to follow Amelia until Amelia disappeared into the dungeon. She also used the skill to discover that Akira was heading toward the dungeon and decided she wanted to help him. Knight confirms that she is telling the truth, so Akira releases her and asks why she wants to come along. The girl introduces herself as Leah, the first princess of the beastfolk nation of Urak. She says she received information that the demon lord was targeting Amelia and came to warn both Amelia and Akira. However, she believed Akira would not trust a stranger without evidence, so she chose to secretly follow him until the demons attacked the previous day. Akira still does not fully trust her, so he uses his world eye skill and confirms that she is telling the truth. He then asks her about her spirit barrier skill, which causes Leah to panic. She asks how he knows about her abilities, but Akira tells her to simply answer the question. Leah explains that ordinary barriers can only fix space in place, while her spirit barrier can be applied to moving targets as well. Akira asks if it can also be used on people, and Leah confirms that it can. She tells him that her ability will be extremely useful to him. Finally, she reveals that the demon lord is after Amelia's resurrection magic, and they must not allow him to obtain it. Akira is shocked by this revelation and immediately climbs onto Knight's back, telling Leah to get on as well. Knight asks whether he is certain they can trust the girl, and Akira replies that they need her abilities to rescue Amelia and that they have no other option at the moment. Meanwhile, Amelia also learns about the Demon Lord's plan and is deeply surprised by it. She asks Orim why the Demon Lord would want her resurrection magic when demons are practically immortal and extremely difficult to kill. Orim agrees with her assessment, saying he does not see much value in resurrection magic either. He explains that it cannot be used if the target has been dead for too long and that it also has a long cooldown. Amelia asks how he knows so much about it, and Orim simply replies that he just does. He then tells her that when Akira soon dies by his hand, she will not be able to save him with her resurrection spell because she already used it on herself. He excitedly talks about how much Amelia will cry when she watches Akira die and hopes her tears will exceed those Kilika shed when Liam died because of her. At the same time, Akira continues traveling toward the dungeon. He feels like he has seen Leah before, back when he was newly summoned, and asks her to explain what she was doing there. Leah begins telling her story from the beginning, saying that she was once just an ordinary village girl. One day, however, a black slime appeared and devoured her family along with her entire village. She is convinced that someone altered that slime using forbidden magic and deliberately released it in her village. Since then, she has been searching for those responsible. Akira realizes that the slime that swallowed Amelia must have been the same one. Leah then reveals that she was the sole survivor of her village and that the royal family adopted her because of her rare abilities, making her a princess. Using her authority, she researched the incident and discovered connections to the country that summoned Akira and the others. She explains that many humans and beast folk have gone missing in recent years and were used as sacrifices for the summoning ritual. Leah believes her missing family was among those sacrifices, which is why she wanted to closely observe the heroes who were summoned at the cost of others' lives. Akira tells her that he is also one of the people summoned from another world, but Leah says she holds no resentment toward him. Her hatred is reserved for the king and the princess who orchestrated everything. Akira admits that he harbors deep grudges against them as well. He refuses to believe the king summoned them to fight off a demon invasion, and Knight agrees with him. Knight explains that demons have not attempted to invade any other country for the past century and that people simply stereotype them as an evil race driven only by violence. Soon after, they reach the dungeon entrance, and once inside, Knight explains to Akira that they must defeat a certain number of monsters to clear each floor. This rule was established by the first demon lord who created all the dungeons, and there is no way around it. Akira says that clearing floors normally would take far too long, so he plans to use shadow magic to speed things up. Knight warns him that he will be exhausted before they even reach the demon if he does that, but Akira responds that they have no alternative. Knight then suggests another plan. He will deal with the smaller monsters while Akira conserves his energy for the main battle. However, Knight admits he is unsure whether he can maintain control once he gets immersed in combat. He fears he might go berserk and hurt his master, but Akira reassures him that he will make sure that does not happen. Akira asks for his help, and Knight immediately transforms into his three-headed form, charging through the dungeon corridors and annihilating waves of monsters with his fire breath. As he continues, he begins to lose control and crashes into the walls. Akira calls out to him, telling him to regain control, and his voice reaches Knight, who feels as though he is swimming in an endless ocean. Hearing Akira's voice calms him, and he asks Akira to keep calling his name because it helps him stay sane. Akira finds this a bit suspicious but agrees and continues talking to Knight so he can remain in control. While they descend through the dungeon, Akira asks Knight to explain why other races hate demons so much. Knight says it all traces back to the first demon lord, who grew bitter after other races forced demons onto a barren continent and attacked their lands. This caused him to become the symbol of ultimate evil, leading people to believe that only a hero could stop someone so dangerous. Knight continues destroying the monsters ahead while explaining that most demon lords never tried to attack humans. However, a few generations ago, a foolish man seeking fame killed the demon lord's wife. The demon lord had been a gentleman who loved his family, but after losing his wife, he became a true menace. Akira pities him, but says that if he truly ordered his subordinates to kidnap Amelia, he will make him pay. Knight has no issue with that, but reminds Akira that not all demons are alike. Some are cruel and want to crush all other races, while others genuinely seek peace with every species on the planet. Akira tells him he will remember that, and soon they arrive at the room where Amelia is being held. Akira immediately declares that he is taking Amelia back and orders Leah to cast a barrier on her. At the same time, Knight returns to his base form, and Orim remarks that he is impressed that the demon lord's right hand managed to bring the assassin here so quickly. Knight ignores him and apologizes to Akira, saying he will not be able to help him for a while. Amelia also apologizes for dragging him into this situation, but Akira tells both of them to calm down. He assures Amelia that he will not let anyone take her and draws his daggers. Oram summons his own weapons and tells Akira that he will lose both the battle and his life. Knight reminds Oram that the demon lord ordered them to bring Akira to him, but Oram replies that his only order was to bring Amelia back alive. He was instructed to kill Akira if he interfered, and Knight is shocked that the demon lord would change his order so suddenly. While they are still talking, Akira suddenly sneaks behind Oram and attacks him. Oram easily blocks the strike and counterattacks by extending his spear and slashing Akira's leg. Akira continues attacking relentlessly, but none of his blows break through Oram's defenses, as Oram treats the fight like a joke. He wounds Akira repeatedly, then decides to end the battle quickly because it is less entertaining than he expected. Akira declares that he will be the one to finish it and activates his shadow magic. The shadows gather at the spots where his blood has fallen, and he uses a special skill to summon shadow beasts formed from his blood. Everyone is stunned by the sight, and Oram struggles to deal with the shadow beasts attacking him from every direction. While Oram is occupied with the shadow wolves, Akira charges forward and slashes his arm and leg, forcing him to drop his weapon. However, Akira is now severely exhausted, and Oram still has more tricks prepared. He plays his eerie flute, summoning the monsters under his control to fight for him. Akira panics because his shadow magic is still on cooldown and he has no idea how to defend himself. The monsters begin charging a massive beam to annihilate him in a single attack. At that moment, Leah uses all of her remaining power to create a large barrier around Akira before collapsing. The barrier absorbs the monsters' attacks and, when they attempt to switch to close combat, reflects their strikes back at them, blowing their heads apart instantly. Right after that, Amelia walks up to Akira and tells him she can move now because Oram has been weakened. She hides behind Akira, and Oram mutters that he is disappointed in himself. Akira raises his dagger toward him but hesitates to deliver the final strike. Oram tells him to hurry up, mocking him for being an assassin who cannot even kill a helpless opponent. As Akira struggles with the thought of killing someone who looks human, Oram's superior suddenly teleports into the room. He is clearly displeased to see that Oram has been defeated. At the same time, Akira and his companions are filled with fear because they know they stand no chance against a second-grade demon. Knight warns Akira not to confront the demon directly, and Akira agrees, saying he will not act recklessly. Meanwhile, the bespectacled demon seals Oram inside a magic sphere and tosses him aside, telling him to rest since he is no longer capable of fighting. He then steps forward to face Akira and casts a spell that instantly shatters the barrier protecting him. Leah is stunned that her barrier was destroyed so easily, but Akira tells her to stay down because it is too dangerous. The demon tells him to calm down, explaining that Leah is not his target. Instead, he uses his strange power to attack Amelia, knocking her unconscious. Akira panics at the sight, but the demon calmly explains that he merely put her to sleep so she would be easier to transport to the demon lord's castle. Enraged, Akira glares at him, but the demon responds by provoking him to attack if he dares. Despite his fury, Akira knows that fighting now would only get everyone killed. He wants to get Amelia out of danger first, but the demon is prepared. He immediately seals all the exits with barrier magic. Knowing Akira intends to escape, Knight asks Akira what he plans to do next, and Akira replies that he cannot fight at full power right now because he has already exhausted his shadow magic. He searches for a way out of the situation when the nerdy demon suddenly asks whether Akira's name is spelled the same way it is pronounced. Akira realizes that only someone Japanese would ask such a question, and the demon confirms his suspicion. He reveals that he was also summoned to this world from Earth, though in a different way from Akira. The demon introduces himself as Mihiro, leaving Akira confused about how a human could side with demons. Mihiro does not bother explaining and instead declares that he will kill Akira and take Amelia with him. He fires a bolt of dark energy at Akira, who dodges it, only to be struck from behind when the attack changes direction. Cornered, Akira grows desperate and charges at Mihiro, but Mihiro continuously pushes him back with his powers. He then launches lethal attacks at Akira, who uses shadow magic to protect only the specific parts of his body being targeted. Mihiro realizes that Akira cannot properly use his ultimate ability due to insufficient mana. Although he wants to fight Akira at full strength, he chooses to focus on completing his mission instead. Before Mihiro can strike again, Knight stands up and tells Akira that some of his mana has recovered during the break. Mihiro asks if Knight has truly switched sides, and Knight confirms that he has no intention of ever returning to the Demon Lord. He then speaks to Akira through telepathy, asking him to cancel their contract because he plans to sacrifice himself to take Mihiro down. Akira immediately refuses to allow that. Mihiro notices their telepathic exchange but, like a typical villain, allows them to finish planning before continuing the fight. Akira tells Knight that they cannot win alone, but together they might defeat Mihiro. Realizing Akira will not back down, Knight decides to support him as much as possible. He uses his shape-shifting ability and transforms into Saren, shocking both Akira and Mihiro. Knight explains that this is the only form capable of matching Mihiro's power, but he warns Akira that he cannot maintain it for long and that they must finish the battle quickly. Mihiro immediately attacks, but they evade him. Knight then uses Saren's power to summon a massive golden hammer, which Mihiro counters with a light element barrier. Akira notices that the intense light is causing the shadows to grow deeper and larger. He orders Knight to attack, but the hammer shatters upon striking the barrier. Mihiro creates a magic circle in midair and fires lightning bolts, which Akira dodges before coating his body in shadow magic and enhancing himself with his shadow-clad form. He launches an assault on Mihiro, who begins to struggle to evade his attacks. Akira destroys the magic circle, forcing Mihiro into close combat. Mihiro manages to push Akira back, but Knight joins in, driving him backward using abilities copied from Saren. Together, Akira and Knight force Mihiro against the wall. Akira briefly thinks that if Saren were alive, they would be fighting side by side like this. Even as nostalgia hits him mid-battle, he manages to slash Mihiro's back and corner him. Knight warns that his shape-shifting is about to end, and Akira says he will finish the fight with his next move. Mihiro tells them they will not win so easily. As Akira prepares to prove him wrong, a hand suddenly pierces his chest. He turns around to see that Amelia, under Mihiro's control, stabbed him. When the control fades, Amelia realizes what she has done and stares in horror at her blood-soaked hands. As Akira collapses, all hope of escaping the dungeon safely seems lost. Amelia desperately apologizes while Knight returns to his original form and rushes to Akira's side. Akira tells Amelia it is not her fault and says it must have been the first spell Mihiro used on her. Mihiro confirms this, explaining that the spell turns people into puppets and draws out their full strength. Akira struggles to remain conscious, declaring that he cannot die yet. He vows to get Amelia to safety no matter what, but his strength fades with every word.